Well, hello. It is something that we didn't want to do. The square ball, call it the grief cast. Me and Joe need sort of our own name for it, really. It is Counterpoint, but I think, listen, I don't think there's going to be much counterpoint in it, to be honest. I think we're going to be singing from the same hymn sheet. Me and Joe are here to discuss. I don't know, mate. I'm still wounded. We've got a lot of points to get through that I want to peck your head over. We might disagree on some of them, to be fair, but initially, mate, how the devil are you doing?
Good. Spare a thought for yourself and everyone else that travelled down to the game yesterday as well. My brother went, and having a look at his sat-nav post-match, that drive back to Halifax was insane, and doing that, having lost 1-0, and it's not even about the manner of the loss. You know, I've had a few comments on my videos saying, oh, we were a crossbar away from taking it. I was like, come, step back, look at the performance. We gave 10 minutes worth of performance at the start. Outside of that, we're rubbish. I said, mate, you know, that first goal was so crucial. Whoever would have got it would have probably gone on to win the game, and it proved to be the case. And you know, I've listened there to the analysis and stuff post Sky Sports, and just hearing them say about some of the players' attitudes during the game, after the game, and all that sort of stuff. And if you do compare it with what, look. Let me just qualify here. I still want Farker to be here, but yesterday it was not the way. You can't do the same things over and over again and expect different results. He did that. I think as well. If the
I'm happy you've said that.
Yeah, no, fair. I still want him here, but I do have to qualify that, but by saying, you know, he got it massively wrong yesterday, and the front four by the first 10 minutes were never in the game, and if they don't get in the game, then Leeds United don't play well, unfortunately. So yeah, and I'm still disappointed. I've spoken to loads of people, you know, people at All Leeds TV, just normal fans, my brother's friends, and everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet. It was just shit, you know. It was just absolutely shit from 10 minutes onwards. You know, we were because genuinely, Connie, I don't know what it was like for you in the ground, but that first 10 minutes, I was like, oh my God, we've actually turned up. I didn't expect us to, you know what I mean? That Leeds, even that Norwich second leg, I was like, I'm nervous. But that first 10 minutes, I was like, oh no, we've turned up. Like, we're here to play. And then, nothing. Leeds United, resume.
Just felt like a very well coached team against a team that wasn't very well coached. I don't know. It was just once again for me, like, Farker really, really grates on me sometimes. And I think yesterday was sort of like a bit of a culmination of my thoughts with it all season, Joe. I've seen that game 10, 11 times this season. We've played Southampton now 3 times. He's gone 3 at the back. Russell Martin, which he did in the last game against us, flicked it up from the 4 at the back he had at St Mary's, which worked. He thought, look, I'm going to try this. I think we'd be better off trying this. They did. Made the midfield a little bit stronger, I thought. And Joe, I was watching a replay. I was watching the exact same thing that happened at Ellen Road. I was seeing Joe Aribo, who was pushing so far forward on Archie Gray that it was Fraser and Aribo on Gray every single time they came forward. The 3 in midfield, I felt, mate, dominated again, which me and you said that if that happens again, and if it happens to an extent of which we can't cope with it, we're not going to be able to deal with that whatsoever. Flynn Downs, I don't know what you think, mate. I thought he dominated the game. I thought he was all over that midfield. And I just thought it's like we spoke previously about being weak, them being weak on their left. You know, Ryan Fraser being left back or Ryan Manning, whatever we can get at them there. It's probably not going to be Somerville, Kyle Walker-Peters. Kyle Walker-Peters won the battle again, didn't he? But it's going to be maybe Nonto versus Ryan Manning or Fraser. That's where
Stevens as well, you know.
Stevens, mate, yeah. That's where you're going to hurt them. I didn't see an overlap. I didn't see byline crosses. I didn't see anything. I didn't see any combinations on that right-hand side, mate. I saw nothing. So for the life of me, Joe, I really struggled to see how Smallbone dominates it again, how Flynn Downs is the strength in the midfield. Aribo is causing us all sorts of tactical problems. And we just deal with it. And it carries on and on and on and on. Like you said, mate, bar in the first 10 minutes, they were in complete control, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I think even towards the end of the game, when we've got every man and his dog on and we're just lumping balls into the box, they still had complete control of the game. It meant for nothing. But I think you're right. I mean, I thought it was quite noticeable that maybe they were happy for Gray to have the ball, but then again, Nonto as well. He just never run it. He never ran at them once, twice. I think Lockie sent a message saying like, I think Nonto had one dribble non-successful, and Somerville like 4 dribbles, 1 successful or something. Then Dan James came on and had about 6 and 4 successful in the space of 10 minutes, but he was willing to, drop off and go, instead of just getting the ball and trying to cut inside and do nothing with it, and it was quite key that they were brought off. Of course, you can criticise the manager and say as well, if anything's going to happen, if any magic's going to happen, you keep them on, which I totally appreciate, but they also weren't at the races. You mentioned Kyle Walker-Peters, Somerville. Kyle Walker-Peters just won the battle, didn't he?
Can't do it against him, can he? No, he's been his biggest foe this season. He's pocketed him 3 times now.
Yeah, massively so, mate. I thought defensively, do you know the biggest thing was off the ball? Off the ball, Southampton were quality, well drilled, knew where they needed to be. Off the ball, we were poor. I've seen too much of this, bro.
Yeah.
You go there. You go. Yeah. I'm going. No, like if you're going to point to someone, Gruev, for example. Please make sure that he's actually acknowledged that point and has got that man. Don't then forget about that man, because we've seen that too many times. Ampadu picked the worst game to have a stinker. He's been amazing all season. It was like he wanted to be a midfielder, the way that he was aggressive and trying to win the ball high up the pitch, which then led to the goal in the first place because he's gone to attack the ball. I mean, the defence was all over the shot for that Armstrong goal, by the way. It was.
How many times have we seen that happen?
Yeah, no,
with him.
Agreed. Yeah. And Armstrong obviously would have worked on that all week. They'd have been aware of that. It was almost like they were trying to entice Ampadu in. We'll have the ball. Are you coming? Right, there you go. I mean, when he went through, you always knew we were going to score. But Connor, we said pre-match, will he go back to a 3 midfield like he did away at Norwich? Because you have to counteract what they're doing. I know that's almost saying like we fear them and therefore we... But wouldn't that have been better to have managed the game instead of gassing out after 10 minutes and then just being, not having a clue? I just think they dominated in midfield on 3 separate occasions.
I know, and like you say, it's Martin. Honestly, Joe, when you're watching it there, I probably didn't pick up things that people were seeing on the TV. Obviously, you don't see the replays, do you? It's all just in live colour, but. Honestly, that midfield was so spread apart. It was so spread apart that they were almost acting as other wingers. So they were so you had like a Rebo on one side and then Smallbone on the other side, and they were getting between the centre back and the fullbacks. Leeds didn't know what to do. Like you were saying, it might not have been caught on camera. They're pointing around. They're completely confused. They're dishevelled at points when it comes to Southampton coming forwards. That's in the ground. Might not have been showing that, but you can see them doing it consistently. So I'm just thinking, how are they so confused already? How are the players getting tactically just outthought? And like you said, mate, it felt very FA Cup-y. It was like they were so comfortable at the back. And I didn't think they were great. To be honest with you, but they were so comfortable. It didn't really... They went to
deserved to win, but they weren't great, did. Right?
They did. Yeah.
I think, what, a key thing we need to whenever Leeds United go behind, I know we've scored goals from losing position, so maybe I'm rewriting history here. But when we see this type of game, it was the same in during Bielsa's time, actually. Within the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, you're like, okay, we've seen this movie before. But what I do think we lack massively is experience. Junior Firpo is the oldest Leeds player on that pitch, and he's 27, bro. That's not great. We lack massive amounts of experience so that when the going does get tough, like who's, grabbing older people and saying, right, I need you to be here. Do you know what really epitomised it for me was, you might not have picked up on it at the time, but like there was 3 or 4 separate occasions where Leeds became petulant. There was one where Shea Adams tries to win a free kick off of Ampadu. Doesn't. And then he gets up and Ampadu just pushes him over right in front of the line. Why? There was a moment where Connor Roberts came on, the battling over in their corner on an attack that we have, gets frustrated, pushes him over. Why? Do you know, the biggest one for me, Somerville on halfway, believes he's being fouled off Kyle Walker-Peters, throws his hands up in the air, stops,
Yeah,
Don't
I
get
remember
hold
that.
from the ref, and then seals Kyle Walker-Peters and just decides to boot him up in the air. Like, what are we doing here? Like, it was,
Oh
yeah.
mate, I saw this on your watch along as Danny's
Oh,
just put on it. I
God.
nearly, but that was absolutely symptomatic of everything. It was Joe. We first 10, it was good, but how sloppy were we? We
Yeah.
just were absolutely diabolical at connecting your passes, your accuracy. It was head loss, it was head rush, mate. And I thought that was the problem every time we went forward. You're from where you were against Norwich, where everything clicks. But you go into that game yesterday and just setting up against us, completely flustered as how they did it. But that 4-on-2 was, man, Archie it's just awful. And that happened in the first 10, I felt 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I think, there was a few occasions where I mean, again, do you put that down to a lack of experience, nerves? I'm not too sure. I
Maybe,
mean,
yeah.
Archie Gray bloody did a foul throw the day that you
They
know.
did 2, mate. They did 2.
Mental. And there was one for Rutter as well in the second half where you're thinking just lay that onto James, will you? And he just lashes it with his left boot and it goes in row fucking Z, man. It was poor. But yeah, that Archie one was massive, wasn't it? Because you just think of the moment in the game, we'd gone behind, but if you score quickly after, you've got an opportunity. And I don't know what he did. Did he mishit it? Did he go for goal? I don't know what he did, but he had so many options. And again, you have to give props to Flynn Downs, who actually forced him into making a decision by getting back. Like you said, thought Flynn Downs was phenomenal.
Class,
and again, that experience, bro, he didn't get a yellow card till the 78th minute,
Yeah.
and he was very good at what he was doing. A little bit like Yamorsi, for example. He's the same.
Yeah.
They just know how to play the game, whereas we lack that, man. We lack that. And again, what really frustrated with me was all this. It was like the fucking traffic wardens, but no one actually doing the job, bro. Too much of it.
We need to talk about the midfield, mate, because I talk about this all the time, but I honestly wonder whether or not Russell Martin just probably funneled a lot of the ball to Kamara on the edge of our box and just thought, don't close him down, it's fine, he won't shoot. I genuinely think Kamara had probably 3 opportunities where he could have had a shot, and they know he's going to funnel it down to Somerville and Firpo or the other side, likely going to be down the left-hand side because that's where he operates. But I just felt that it is just such a basic tactic that he's never going to strike the ball. So what's the point in closing him down that much? I didn't think they were aggressive when he had the ball on the edge of the box. And I think so that's something that we need. I mean, Joe, we'll talk about. I want to get into a little bit on what the bigger picture is here, but the midfield needs to be addressed next year for me, mate. There's too much. Gruev is there's not enough. I'll take accountability here when he's getting the ball and sort of moving it on side to side laterally. He's too quick to get rid of the ball. He doesn't go forward enough for me. Kamara, to be an advanced player in that pivot role, he's got to give you more. He's got to give you more, whether or not it's assists, goals. It is just, when you look at the opposition one, Joe, you look at how fantastic Aribo has been recently. Yeah. Smallbone, who gets goals for fun. Flynn Downs, who is just a metronome in there, can get forward, can stay back's better there. Just probably retreating a little bit and doing a job on others, attacking midfielders. But yesterday, it was. We said it again, mate. It's the same game, won and lost in the midfield.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it on my show yesterday, and Andrea was making a point, and we both agreed them two as a pair are too passive.
Yeah,
I don't think they work together. You can play one of, if that makes sense, because as a pair, as a unit, I know they don't play similar positions in terms of, like you say, Kamara's expected to get forward, be more advanced, and Gruev more the 6. But I just think as a pair, they're too passive. You mentioned there like Flynn Downs obviously doing all that, and then you've got Smallbone, bang bang bang, Aribo, bang bang bang. Whereas we don't do enough of that. So you are right. It definitely does need addressing, mate. We did lack yesterday. I mean, even an extra body. I genuinely think it could have looked different had we have gone with 3 in midfield. I genuinely think that, and I just feel like almost Farker maybe got a little bit over gas with the performance against Norwich of like, we're back. I know as a fan base we can do and that, but maybe sometimes you need to take a step back and say, right, okay, I've played these twice, playing this way, and on both occasions we've been soundly beat. And I know, people like they're telling me, oh, it was only 1 goal, oh, it was a crossbar away. Over the course of the 90 minutes, or even all 3 games, we just didn't get near Southampton at all. It was the one team none of us wanted in the final, really. You know, the only team that did the double over us in regulation season, the only team, people. So the fact that we've gone in with the, you know, now with hindsight, you come back, you step away, and you think, yeah, he got it wrong.
He's got to go and get experience, hasn't he? Because he mentioned it.
100%.
He mentioned Morsey, he mentioned Luongo, which I told you at the time, Joe. I found it a bit bizarre with the quality.
I agree.
Midfield we have, but you did mention those two. Whether or not that's a bit of an excuse, I don't know. That's another conversation. But we've got to go out and get more experience in that side, mate. I mean, if we went up, to be fair to the Premier League, there was a lot of naivety, and I think we saw that throughout the season, mate. Listen, you're never going to turn your nose up to the Premier League, of course you're not. But that adaptation of getting to the Premier League and having to mix a little bit of naivety, well, a hell of a lot of naivety, with experience at the top level, and that blend working straight away so Leeds United stay up is massive, massive pressure. So they've got to do that in the Championship next season, haven't they? They've got to bring in wily heads. Obviously, listen, his first season at Norwich, he didn't get promoted. I think he came in halfway through. It was like Nelson Oliveira, Maddison and co. Didn't get promoted. But I do want to touch on the next season, Joe, because I think there's so much pressure on next season now, and let me tell you why. Obviously, we've got arguably a weaker Championship next season, which I think we're all on board with when we look at the teams that came down. Leeds got 90 points, still didn't go up, unbelievable. But you know, when you're looking at the standing next season, it's going to be lower. But Joe, because we've had 3 teams go up in Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester, if the season after next we don't go up, parachute payments evaporate, you're going to get some quality teams coming down, probably better than what we've got next season. And you're probably looking at that third season, if Leeds have missed out, on being really, really, really difficult when you've got stronger teams coming down with those 100% parachute payments. If they're still around, then I think they said they're going to scrap them, didn't they? But regardless, they're going to be strong teams. There is a lot of pressure, mate, on getting it right next year, isn't there?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think, you know, and Farker will see us into next season, but one thing's for sure, he won't get the down periods we've had this season. I think the 49ers will go, okay, because if we're being honest, and I'm not saying this like, oh, he's off again, you know, he's making wild bold predictions, because I do tend to do that, but we are, rightly so, the bookies' favourites for next year. Like, I look at that division, I look at who's come up, I look at who's coming down. With the money that goes in, we have to win the league next year. I think that's a bare minimum. That might sound wild to some, but with Farker, with the season we had this season, going into next and the quality of it, we have to win. And what I will say is, if we have a similar style impact or start to last season, and there were a lot of caveats to that, but this summer's going to be almost perfect for him. I think Somerville Nonto will be told, out you go. 49ers won't mess around. They'll know who the targets are. We've got, you know, behind the scenes, Jordan Miles, Greta Steinson, Nick Hammond and Daniel Farker now. They know. We've already seen, even before the season finished, has been linked to players with credible sources from people like Florian Plettenberg, which tells me the club were already making moves behind the scenes, regardless of what division we're in. They'll know the targets. They get them in early. There is no excuses now.
No.
You know, and you know, I was guilty of saying, yeah, but, you know, and people would get annoyed at me, but we did have that bad start. But next season, nah, you've now got the full pre-season, players in and out, let's go and attack it, and we have to. The bare minimum for Leeds United should be to win the league next year, Connor, because like you say, rightly so, if we don't, that following year, I agree with you, the 3 that will come down, you could be, you know, imagine the 3 that go up, stay up. Who's coming down then? Everton, Forest, Brentford, teams like that. Exactly. You know, so come on. It has to be our time this season. I agree with you there. Yeah.
Rather be Leeds. Shout out to this is the Counterpoint as well. If you guys are just joining, this is what me and Joe do every single week on a Monday, midday. We're going to be doing it, you know, in person and stuff as well. So make sure you know, liking the content. Obviously, we do it simultaneously on mine one week and then Joe's the other week. So make sure you check on Joe's channel as well. Radaby Leeds says, who goes? Nonso for me, unreliable when needed and let us down at the start of the season. Plus, get the loan lot out, and Bamford surely always injured. I think, yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Joe, in terms of the experience and the naivety. I think it definitely was there this season. But I'm with you, mate, when it comes to the automatics as well. Like, automatics now. I'm not saying this will happen, and it's not arrogance, but I expect automatics now with what we've been through this season, getting 90 points. We've got a serial championship winner, obviously 2 times, but he's won the championship twice. His first season at Norwich wasn't great. Second season was exceptional. He's got to get it right. I think it's also right though, Joe, to look at him a little bit for me. And I think still he has a lot of evolution to do as a manager. What are your thoughts?
In-game management needs to improve. I can't hide from that fact, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his, but no one's exempt for criticism. Even Bielsa got criticised. In-game management needs to improve. If it's not working, change it. One thing I'll say for Russell Martin throughout the course of the season, they had very big drops. But who's been promoted at the end of it? Southampton and Russell Martin. Why? Because he's been willing to change it during the season. I think Farke tried it a few times. I think what I will say, folks, I was thinking about it this morning. All that start of the season when we were saying, look, it's just as easy, because I want to get your thoughts on this, and I don't want to come away because there's one player in my mind I want you to chat about from yesterday, so I'll just swing it round to you this way. But, during the season we were all going, just put Pirro in the 9, just put Pirro in the 9, and he told us, I don't think he's a 9. And, he gave us one good game out of 49 now, bro, in that number 9 position, and that was Norwich, and I think we all got a little bit carried away. I know people won't want to hear it, but we could have done with Bamford yesterday. Let me just qualify. We do need to replace him, or he should have used Joseph more, and then he could have played, because again, he did more than Pirro did in fucking 10 minutes. But it was that profile of striker that we needed. And it's stuff like that. For me, taking off Somerville, he wasn't great, but then leaving Pirro on for the full game is wild for me, because I thought, again, Connor, and people can talk about service and that, but again, that guy was anonymous. Anonymous. So for me, Farke, sorry, I've positioned that, but Farke, in-game management needs to improve, and he also needs to use the squad, man. He needs to use the squad. I mean, Jadon Anthony came on the pitch yesterday for Somerville, and his first touch was to put it out of play, but I also look at it and think, has he been used enough throughout the season?
Joe, the cold.
Yeah, no, I agree. No Gelhardt even, no Creswell at times, no. And listen, I'm not trying to rewrite history, because I've backed Farke on the Creswell situation. But when you're, it's like Bielsa when he brought on JKA, man, for God's sake, against Derby. It's like, come on, man, at this point you're running out of ideas. And I think, they were cold. And the ones that did come on and make an impact were ones that weren't cold. If we look at when Nonto was used during the season, he ended up then taking James's place. Whenever James started and then was used, players that had a bigger role within the squad, whenever they came on the pitch, actually improved the team. Yeah. Whereas if I look at Anthony, bar the FA Cup game, don't remember him doing a thing. If I look at Gelhardt when he was used sparingly, he looked lively but didn't do a thing. So, we definitely... And maybe that's Farke not trusting his squad, and maybe next year he'll have a better Daniel Farke squad for him, because it's not his perfect squad this year, we have to agree. Yes, great individuals, but I would argue he would want, a centre-back that can fucking head the ball, someone who can take a set piece, just better put a number 10, a proper number 10, by the way. You could argue, Connor, do you just put Rutter out on the left or right and bring in a number 10?
That's where it started, wasn't it?
Exactly. So,
I think the number 9's been a huge problem, Joe. And I look at Leicester, and I think listen, they might not have overperformed this year, but the options they've got up front: Daka, Iheanacho, Vardy, the lad from Everton, who I can't remember his name, Cannon, isn't it? It's Josh Tom Cannon, I should say. Yeah. And you look at Southampton, Shea Adams. I know Ross Stewart's not been available all season, but Shea Adams, Adam Armstrong, Ross Stewart, Sekou Mara. I'm not saying
even Ipswich, bro. They went and bought Ali Al-Hamadi.
Yeah.
Even when they had Kiefer Moore and George Hurst coming back, they still went and got him just in case George Hurst didn't come out.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
But people in the chat saying Daka is crap, Daka is cheeks, but at the same time,
options, in it, though.
He's an option. He's a £27 million player, and he's an option at this level. We can't all talk about Leeds players coming down and then elevating the performances, but then when these Leicester players are playing at a championship level, you sort of decrease in their ability because you don't think they've had a half-decent season. What an option it is at the start of the season, And I think that's it, mate. Our number 9 has been completely absent. We've had a streaky Bamford when it comes to injury and performances, of course. I think one of the biggest failings of the season has been Matteo Joseph not been utilised enough. I know maybe we have different opinions on that. I know like it's one of those things where, you know, what's he done when he's come on? But to not play a minute after that Chelsea game, after his stock was so high, 2 goals, proper performance against a proper centre-back pairing. I think him not playing a minute the game afterwards when we drew to Huddersfield 1-1 in a lacklustre game, I feel he could have built momentum from that point on. And it's not a meritocracy, Joe. It's not a meritocracy. If he puts in a performance like that and then doesn't get utilised really for the remainder of the season. You even saw when he came on yesterday, mate, some nice deft touches, getting in and around it, you know. And I just thought to myself, even yesterday when they've got 3 at the back, why not go 2 up top? We'll just go 2 up top, do something a little bit different. But yeah, mate, I think is there a question to say maybe the youth hasn't been handled that well? You know, Joseph, Joffrey, Cresswell. I mean, Cresswell was wanted by bloody Ipswich in January.
Yeah, look, I back the manager, you know this, so I will tend to side with him when it comes to certain situations, when he's sat in a press conference and he's telling us reasons as to why Mateo's not being used, for example, you know, age, experience, all that. And I got, okay, agree with you, Daniel. But yeah, in the cold light of day, within hindsight, you know, a day after, you do have to think, you know, did he? Yeah, he was underutilised. Come on, he was. I think we can all agree. Bamford was flying at the time, which he was, but I do think once that tailed off, then he should have been used more, especially when, like you've seen, you know, the Chelsea performance. But and we don't have who's more similar to Bamford. It's Joseph, right? It is Joseph. So yeah, like again, it comes back to him not using the squad to its full capabilities, but. I'm almost gutted that Joseph got injured in pre-season, because I said from the start, had he not got injured in pre-season, he'd have been utilised more. And I just think once he...
Do you think we will next season, Joe?
He's got to be number 9. He's got to be. If you're not going to go buy one...
Even if Bamford's fit, would you have Joseph as number 9?
Yeah, from the start of next season, yes. Yeah, I think Bamford's played his last game for Leeds, maybe.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's that wage. It's that wage.
Yeah, I think the 49ers will move him on though. Can I just quickly respond as well, David, to David Lamb? Surely there comes a point when you have to admit you're wrong. You wanted Bamford over Joseph. I still would have wanted that, bro, going into the final. You're not hearing me right here. Had Bamford been fit, we would have still looked better yesterday with Bamford. But ultimately, when he isn't playing well or has come out of the side, then Joseph should have been his replacement. Yes, that's the point I'm saying. Because Bamford, you know, I know people won't want to hear it. And I even said, look, I got annoyed that he got injured again and said, I'm sick of this now 4 times. Even if he gets fit, don't play him in the final.
Missing in action, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah. Now with hindsight, I go, would we have looked better yesterday with Bamford as the 9? And even the most hardened Bamford hater would say, yeah, probably. Because tell me what Pirro actually did. Nothing. He didn't occupy centre-backs. He didn't drag them out of position. We can talk about service again, right? But yeah, Bamford would have looked better. But again, he needs replacing. Hear what I'm saying, people? He needs replacing. I don't want him to be our starting number 9 next season. I want that to be Matteo. If it's not Matteo, then go bring me a Josh Sargent or someone of that ilk that can do it in this division. An Armstrong, for example. I know we won't get Armstrong now, but you know, he was pants in the Premier League. He's dropped down and he's smashed it. And he'll probably be like Dwight Gale, perennial top-end championship striker. We need that because we don't have that.
Yeah, and it's funny you've addressed the comment there, Joe. I wasn't going to do it because I try not to get wrapped up.
It riles me because it's like you're not listening to what I'm fucking saying, man. Do you know what I mean,
mate? And I'll come off the back of what you've said as well, and said, you know, opinions change in football because of form and results as well. That does happen. You don't have to stick your colours to the mast at the start of the season and say, look, I was right. Football changes. Of course it does. I mean, Daniel Farke, I've said this throughout. Joe, you know, every other content creator as well knows that I am a bit of a critic of him. But I've said on plenty of occasions that I think there's not going to be, I've said to you off air, if a top manager became available at this level, but who's that? It's good. There's not going to be anyone who Leeds can go and get, in my opinion, right now, who's going to elevate this squad to another level. So you're going to have to go with him, and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with it. You've got to see him develop in certain ways. I think he's got to evolve. But Joe, we're 2 grown men. and there's a lot of people in the chat as well. Let's not be so fragile in the chat, because I can see a couple of people, that, oh, Conor wants Farke. I do not want Farke. I want him to start next season. But we have to be, if our owners are ruthless, we can't be Sentiment FC again. We need to see him start the season strongly and get in pole position like Ipswich and Leicester did. We can't be lacking behind when he's had a full pre-season, when he's got his bodies in. It's going to be a churn again, but I'm not having any more excuses. And he's done well, 90 points. He's done well. Of course he has. But ultimately, we didn't get promoted. He needs to evolve. Of course he does. The team needs to evolve. I'm not Farke out, but I need to see more from him. I think that's a fair assessment, Joe.
Yeah, like I said, he won't be given, when we've had the dips, this season, and we had a few, he won't be given that. He won't be given that. Genuinely, he won't. I think I was listening to Not the Top 20 earlier, and they said he will be on a short leash. And I don't disagree with that. They'll
that's right, isn't it? That's right.
Yeah, no, I agreed. Yeah, because you didn't go up this year. Okay, you did amazing. But then you need to also have that consistency going into next. Because if you got 90 points this season, I want similar next. Okay, you don't have great individuals, but you're telling me, Daniel, you want this player, that player, and this player, because that's why it fell off. Because that's the conversation. Why did it go wrong, Daniel? I lacked experience. I lacked a centre-back in replace of Strout, meaning I could get Ampadu in midfield. These sort of conversations. So if we start the season with Ampadu back in midfield, a new centre-back, a new number 9, experience throughout, a bench that he can rely on, then he has no excuses, right? So, yeah I agree with you. If after, if I don't know what it starts in August. What about October? We're languishing mid-table. You say, Daniel, you gone, mate. We can't be left behind.
Yeah, he's got to go. He's got to go.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Listen, I don't just. There was only one man I would blindly follow, and that was Marcelo. Outside of that, no.
Yeah, or Liam Cooper.
Yeah, or Liam Cooper. Yeah. Mate, do you know what though? He'd have fucking done something yesterday. Someone said who was at the game. I don't know if you've seen that. He was almost doing the managing stuff on the sideline towards the end. Is that right? I don't know.
He was. He was getting involved towards the end. It was nice to see. Yeah. No, I do what? Listen.
Do you think he'll go regardless, right?
Cooper.
Because we're in the Championship now, aren't we? So does he stay as not as an option, because he's barely used anyway. And I'm not advocating this, by the way. Hear me out, people. But I'm just saying, do you think he will have played his last game? He might go to a Middlesbrough, to a Sheffield United, even maybe.
I think if he stays, Cresswell goes.
Yeah, I think
Cresswell's just going to turn around and go, do you know what? F this. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where I'm a bit like, look, I'm not saying the world beaters, they're not, but some of the stuff you heard, Joe, Cresswell can't do it. Cresswell's done it. It's championship. It's championship.
Do you think he's good enough on the ball though?
I don't think he's good. I don't think he's great on the ball, but do you think we're a little bit of estimating how good sort of like, when you look at the top 4, the top 6, 100%, like I get it. I completely get it. But when you're looking at the plethora of other teams this division who, Joe, are awful. Let's be brutally honest, have been awful. I think Cresswell in some games could have definitely mixed it with them. He's done it previously.
He'd have scored from a corner, I'm guaranteeing you.
Of course, he'd have given us something on a corner. And at points, Joe, we were poor defending them. But the net gain, Joe, is you get Ampadu back in midfield. I mean, Ampadu, I'm not saying this would have happened yesterday, because I'm like, it would never have happened. And Cressy would have come in cold, and he can't come in cold. You can't have these players, Joffe, you can't have them coming in cold. Joseph, to an extent, they've got to have match fitness and playing time to get used to the standard again. But that's what I'm saying, mate. To look at Ipswich, who were in for him in January, and we know this, they were in for him. Allegedly, they inquired about him.
Yeah.
And they try play, obviously a little bit more dynamic with those sort of long arching passes. But if he's that bad, you wouldn't get clubs like Ipswich and Coventry and stuff like that looking at him in January. And I just think to get Ampadu back into the midfield, that for me, mate, should have been utilised a little bit more. Maybe against the poorer teams where we've not managed to get through. I don't know.
To see if it works. Yeah. No, there's something in that probably, mate.
But yeah, I mean, something else I wanted to talk about, Joe, is what do you think we need to do? And everyone in the chat, as a big club, the expectation. So for me, how I look at it now is 12 months left on Firpo's deal. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. Are they going to offer him a new deal, or are they going to look to?
He might want to go back to Spain, bro.
I think he might, mate. I think Firpo's. And he's had, let's be honest, mate. I have to say, I've been so happy with him. I think he's been and he's completely. I didn't know. I've said this before, mate. I think technically, you look at him and you think, well, he's got it in the locker, but just positionally, he's just awful. Absolutely, just got hell for leather. He's clearly a left wing back, not a left back. And I was always a little bit worried about his. Technically, he's evidently not a bad football player. We're not talking about Rasmus Christensen here. Do you know what I mean? He's technically a good footballer. So the fact that he's developed so much this season, I think you are going to get clubs looking at him, mate. I think you're going to get clubs looking at him. I mean, clubs were looking at him when we got relegated. So I
From
see.
the turn of the year, he was our best player.
He was, mate. He was, 100%. Especially post international break, he's the only one who came back for a large portion of it. So I'd say I think the likelihood is Firpo goes, I think Somerville goes, and I think Nonso go. They're the three that I'm looking at and thinking, right, okay, they're in my head. They've gone already. Obviously, you recoup sales from 50 million and above from the loan boys as well, hopefully.
You have to keep this guy here, Gray and Rutter, because them two will get bids. But for me, you have to keep them.
Yeah, they're the two. And I think Ampadu will get a bit of interest as well.
Maybe.
But yeah, I
because
agree.
He's in his first year. We'll say you paying us 40 for, you know what I mean? His first year. I don't think anyone will pay anywhere as much as Leeds would command for Ampadu. But I think, them two, if you can keep Graham Rutter, and you were there at the game, mate, and I've seen all the pictures, they were the two that needed consoling from Farker. They were the two that were crying their eyes out. They were the two that it really, really affected. So I think, look, I know it's a cliche, but it looks to me like Rutter's fallen in love with the place.
Yeah.
I think... So there's a big possibility he stays, because I don't think Leeds will recoup anywhere close to what we paid for him yet, so they won't want to move him on. Gray, you'd hope connections, his brother coming through. You're thinking he stays. If them two
unless you get a crazy bid, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah, man. If someone like a Dortmund comes in and they say here's 70 mil, then you go okay. But yeah, I think keep Gray, keep Rutter. James stays, Joseph stays, Ampadu, Gray. The rest is a conversation to be had. But you do need a bit of continuity, for course.
It's mad that, innit?
What do you do with the goalkeeper?
Oh, bin him off. Sorry, bin him off. Bin him off. Yeah. Sorry, that sounds harsh, ruthless. I've always been the same with it, Joe. I was happy with his Norwich performance, and I came on here and he was the first person I spoke about, because I've not any agendas whatsoever. Came on, said he was brilliant, loved his kicking, loved his handling. That Sargent save was impeccable. But you made a really good point. 1v1, I didn't really think about this. 1v1, he's normally very, very good. Bit of criticism maybe for the goal yesterday, maybe a bit harsh, probably a bit harsh.
He did save one as well from the free kick. He
did.
I do think if you compare, and I'm not saying go get Alex McCarthy because his kicking's terrible and that's why Southampton went long. But if you compare his commanding of his box yesterday compared to Meslier on the couple of occasions, it wasn't great. And I've been Mellier's biggest supporter. But
what would you do, Joe? What would you do?
Yeah, I think there's a conversation to be had. I think if he gets offers from Europe, I think the club will sell. It's whether or not them offers come. And the one thing I've got ringing in the back of my mind is what Daniel Farker said after the Norwich game. And he could just be saying words, but he did say he's the best keeper in this league. So, he may stay. He may stay, but Meslier might want to move on as well. But we need a better shot stopper. Someone we can count on. Do you
remember that stat we said, mate? The stat that we said, it was on like FootMob, I think it was. And when it was goals prevented, and obviously that Sargent one will be up there now. But I remember looking at it, and I think it was like the 40th game of the season, and it was goals prevented, and you had like Hermansson up there. You had Victor Johansson, you had Carl Rushworth, you had all these keepers who prevented like +4, +5 goals. Melee, it was like -4.1, and you're like, that can't be as it is. It really can't,
Yeah. I think as well, like he is, like I'm just gonna check who's Ipswich's goalkeeper, not Hladaki, the other guy that they'd bought after having him on loan. What's he called? Anyway, so basically, I didn't even realise this, but the keeper they were supposed to start with, number one, who'd been amazing in League One for them, got injured, and then Hladaki came in and kept his spot. So I forget what name it is, but if he was that good to start for them over Hladaki, then go get that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Walton,
I don't know,
Walton
that people are saying. Yeah, I think they bought him. I can't remember where they got him from. They had him on loan, then they signed him, and then he got injured, and then Hladaki went in number one. So Christian Walton, have a look at him because he's probably going to be number two now in the Prem behind Hladaki. So, and look at who was the goalkeeper Chef Wednesday got on loan from Brighton. No, basically, there's keepers out there at Premier League clubs that can do a job. Look at James Trafford when he went to Burnley, for example. There are keepers there that if you do. They bought him from Brighton as well. There you go. So Brighton must have...
It's in Patterson at Sunderland, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. He's another one who's now been linked to Sheffield United. Choose between them two clubs, you're taking Leeds. So get on at Patterson as well.
Yeah, that, like you say, we spoke about one in. I think when maybe the 49ers have sort of like put that message out there, like 1 or 2 in, 1 or 2 out, I think they mean like big signings, Joe. I think we're looking at like, obviously, your Nonto, your Rutty, your Ampadu, your Archie situation, Somerville as well, obviously. I think that's what they're referring to. I think, you've got obviously Coops moving on, Ayling, Dallas, that's going to be a massive churn when it comes to like the old guard. I do agree with you. I think there's a conversation with Bamford, obviously 31 next year. Club's going to maybe come in for Melee now. His stock's been relatively high for winning that Golden Glove. I think they might. Firpo, 12 months left on his deal. He's probably going to be Leeds. If they have a conversation and
the retained list's out in a couple of days, the retained list, so we'll know, and that's where we'll have the Byram on there, your Coopers, your Dallas, and that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah. And then obviously you got the youngsters, haven't you? You've got Shaq, Cresswell, Joffe, Joseph. How many of them are going to stick around? Then, mate, we've got the lone boys, haven't we? I mean, obviously we're probably looking at Rocker leaving. I think he said he wants to leave as well. Rocker,
over 15 million by all accounts, right?
Yeah,
he's going. So that's good. That's money.
Yeah. Verba
Did
going.
you see that Kieran Maguire tweet last night? That scaremongering tweet that he put out.
No, I didn't see it.
Have you not seen it? Oh, man. So he's already been on podcasts saying that Leeds United owe 190 million over the next couple of seasons, only 70 this season, they're going to be fine. Then last night, he put out this big tweet that set the cat amongst the pigeons saying, Leeds owe 190, must sell and pay this off before they can buy anyone. And obviously everyone were on it going, they're in the bin another 16 years. And it was like, you've just done that purely for clicks. I expect better from him because... He's really good at what he does. But yeah, we know we owe 190 million, but it's over the next couple of seasons. We only owe 70 this year. But yeah, it was really poor from him because he's professional. I didn't get it, but anyway. No, if you haven't seen it, it don't matter.
He's maybe looking at what's going on. Everyone was up against Leeds, weren't they, last night, and that which was nice and fun. But yeah, Byram as well, mate. I wonder if he'll be on the retain list. That's an interesting conversation. But when I mentioned the loans, do you think there's anyone who maybe can acclimatise a little bit? There's probably one man who I'm looking at, and obviously it's not Rocker. I know that my poor baby Rocker won't be coming back. But no, I think who they might look at, but obviously amortisation is going to have something to do with this. Is potentially Aronson off the bench as I don't know, as a bit of a presser. I don't know. Harrison's going to go, isn't he? I mean, is there any conversation for you at all when it comes to Brendan Aronson or not?
No, not for me, bro. I'll back him if they do make that decision, but he needs to go back to MLS.
Yeah.
Do you think he could cope physically in the Championship, bro?
No, I think it's one of those.
And I don't want, I got pissed off yesterday at Nonto with his whinging game. Aronson was 10 times worse than that in the Premier League. Well, in the Championship, they're just going to kick him. They're just going to kick him and he'll be on the floor whinging and moaning. So not for me, mate. I don't think any of them should come back and I don't think Farke will accept him. We've already seen, rightly or wrongly, maybe to his own detriment at times, he's a man of principles. Look at what happened with Cresswell. You can't tell me if that whole thing with his dad wouldn't have gone off. We probably would have seen Cresswell at some point. So I think he's a man of principle. So he'll look at that and say, nah, you're not coming back into the squad. But if any of them do... look what happened with Nonto. He was a rat, then he wasn't a rat, and now probably end at season he'll move on. He'll be a rat again. This is football. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a few people agreeing with what you said, mate. The Smith Elvis says, Aronson will get eaten up. I think you're right. Yeah. You've seen the drop off in quality when you've got to the Championship. Be quite useful for some players. Rutter, Somerville, even Firpo. It's been quite good in terms of that drop down. You could even look at Ampadu really with his time at Sheffield United. So yeah, I think I'd agree with you on that. To be honest with you, I think he's got to have a really long, hard look at himself. Maybe take up a different sport. But
did you see? I'm just seeing a lot of people mentioning Orta. Did you see the Sevilla fans last night?
Yeah.
Orta, you bastardo, get out! I was like, that's cheered me up, man. That has cheered me up. What a guy! What a guy!
What a guy! Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people say no as well. IPW, Joe says, credit to Southampton. They worked out our gameplay and neutralised it. Fuck, no plan B. Shanna says, won't be surprised if we have a similar situation at the start of the season where we don't have a team for the... I don't know. I don't agree with that, Shanna's. I think he's got more than enough time, and they've got more than enough time to sort this out. Do you expect, Joe? Because how many times have we gone into a transfer window, mate, and we've been the last to do any business, haven't we? The window opens on June 10th. You're really hoping that Leeds sort of seize the day, really, carpe diem, and actually go and attack the transfer window instead of waiting. I know circumstance was a huge problem last season, but do you see sort of Leeds going at it straight away here?
Yeah, we have to. There should be no excuses from the board. Stats right at the top right. Their excuses previously would have been the previous ownership getting in and finding out all these loan contracts and all that sort of stuff. They have no excuses now. They've got the people that they want. Let's not forget Jordan Miles didn't come in till after the January window. So he's now had 6 months. So you've now got Nick Hammond, Steinson, Miles and Farker. There is no excuses from anyone above that squad now. They've all been in place. Farker talks about short, medium and long-term targets. Was sound, they know what they're doing. And I think it's quite interesting, mate, that even when the playoff final was due, we're already, from Florian Plettenberg, talking about Jordan Torneraya from Ghent, etc. Players in the German market, in the U setup, which Farker will have a working knowledge of as well. So I think, yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, he might not be a Championship move now, of course not. But, we looked at Marius Wolf, for example. He was another, again, he's not coming to the Championship now, but they will have other targets in mind. I mean, if you could, go pick up, who would you be looking at, Connor, from the Championship? Say if we've spoke about it before, you're talking the cream of the crop, right? I really like Liluka Sargent, but I'd also think Joseph should be given a run, so therefore do you really need to spend that money? But, in terms of a 10, for example, who would you look at, mate? You've got Sammy Schmodics, bro.
Yeah, is he a 10, though? I don't know.
He's been playing there, hasn't he? I don't know, but...
Yeah,
Schmodics. Fucking do it, man.
Schmodics isn't a bad shout. Do you know what?
What about your man Kipri? You mentioned him, actually. Kipri at right centre back.
Yeah,
do we get Rodon, bro? Do we get Rodon? I think Ipswich might look at him.
Yeah, I agree.
Wolfenden and Burgess are rubbish, man.
I was about to say that. I think they literally took words out of my mouth. I think Ipswich will look at him. But that depends on McKenna, doesn't it? Or does it depend on McKenna? Is he going to look at that? I don't know. Yeah. I think Kipper's had a superb season. People really turn their nose up at him. His contract's up in a year. He'd be a decent signing for Leeds. I don't think that's a bad option whatsoever. He's good from set pieces.
Take either of their fullbacks as well, by the way.
100%. But you know what it is, Joe, don't you? We've been a Leeds content creator. Leeds fans seem to have this, and this segues me onto a different point, mate. But Leeds fans, and I think I've said this to you before, seem to have this arrogance, like they're not good enough for us. They're not good enough for Leeds. And it's like, well, they are. They're more than good enough for Leeds. It's Championship. Do you know what I mean? I think someone like him would be a nice little addition. But do you know what, mate? I'd be looking at Shea Adams. I've always said Shea Adams.
I'm not allowed to say, because whenever I say it, people go, you and Shea Adams again. But no,
Shea Adams, 100%. Shea Adams, 100%. I don't think he's going to be looking in Southampton.
Everton and Wolves are linked with him, bro.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Archer is another one. I know he's going to be coming down, obviously, with Sheffield United, but, can Leeds United offer something? I don't know. I mean, if you're Archer, do you just think to yourself, well, it's Sheffield United, we've got 100% parachute payments. The likelihood of the three going down, going back up is good, but they're in absolute strife, mate. They're really struggling at the minute when it comes to getting a squad together, I think, for next season. So Archer could be a good one as well.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as well. Like we should expect like big signings. How much did Ellis Sims go to Coventry? And I'm not putting him forward, but my point is
He's 8 mil, wasn't it?
they sold Gus Hamer and they sold Gyökeres, right? And then they
Yeah.
went and spent big on players. We need to do the same because Somerville's going to go, Nonto's going to go, maybe some others. I know we still owe money on transfers, but, you know, Kieran Maguire has confirmed that the 49ers will put capital up. We've seen new investors come in of late as well, so money will be there. So I want us to go out and sign someone top notch, man. I just love someone who you just
We
like
thought
an Armstrong, bro. We just know as soon as he goes through, goal.
But we have to improve that forward line, mate. That has to be. And if we obviously Perot 16 million, yeah, that was a big signing. That was a really big signing. But
which we can't rewrite it. At the time, we were all like, "Wow, Southampton wanted him, Leicester wanted him." But they should have foreseen with the short, mid, and long-term plan that he wasn't going to suit what we were trying to do. Because that's the only explanation. Pirro doesn't suit our system, which lads said. So props to looking at. Yeah, Lord said it before the season started, bro.
Yeah, there's a lot of good talent as well, isn't there, at Coventry? You know, Van Ewick, you look at Ben Sheaf as well in that midfield, who's a strong lad.
People have mentioned Trey Hume at Sunderland as well. He'd be
Trey Hume, Callum O'Hare as well. Could be the Leeds Grealish.
Does Jack Clark go to the Prem? I'm not saying advocate, but is there a chance you can do something there?
Do you know what? I wonder if that end of the season killed him a little bit. You know, that end of the season where he didn't for the last sort of 10, 12 games, nothing really happened with him. I know Sunderland petered out, didn't they? But it was that first half of the season where he was absolutely flying. It kind of died a little bit. Another one to keep an eye on, mate, is Johnny Rowe at Norwich.
Johnny Rowe, yeah.
That'd be nice. I think Gabby Sarr would be a bit too difficult. I think he's going to the Prem, to be honest. But
I've seen like someone mentioned Jordan James there as well. He's linked to clubs like Atalanta and stuff like that. He's not staying in the Champion. I know he's in League One now, but Jordan James is a generational Welsh talent. I don't see him coming to Leeds, if I'm honest.
It's a good division though. You can get good deals in there. You know, you look at the the lad at Plymouth, the centre back. I don't know who's on loan from.
Spurs, mate. Ashley Phillips, wasn't it? Yeah.
What a performance he had against those. A couple of good performances. He's only a young lad. Wow, he was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
He got that Alfie Devine in as well from Spurs. That's what I mean. We spoke about it before. We don't utilise that market enough. We don't.
That's what I wanted to touch on, mate. Here's some for you, Joe. So Leeds just said Rocker and Harrison going back out on loan. I don't think so. I think you're going to get them both going permanently, to be honest, mate. But when you're looking at the loans, mate, let's have just a grand picture of it. So obviously we got Rodon in, massive success. We'd all love him back. Absolutely love him back. I don't know if it will happen. I'd love to say it would. Maybe he's got a bit of a connection with the club. That's all we can rely on, really. Because if a Prem club comes in and offers him double the wage and he's playing at the top level, maybe that'll attract him. It probably will. But when you're looking at me and you've spoken about it, when you look at what Hull did in the loan market, look, obviously it's better you getting a permanent player in it, Joe. But we've got to obviously comply with the financial restrictions here. But what Hull did in the market was unbelievable loan wise. Southampton, what do we have there, Joe? Fraser, Brooks, Taylor Howard-Bellis.
Who's now gone for just 20 million to them, by the way.
Yeah, Flynn Downs. Then you look at Ipswich, Kiefer Moore, Hutchinson, Sarmiento. These are all players who've been starters for these clubs, mate. We have to utilise that market better, don't we?
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. There is so much talent in the Premier League because that's what the Premier League top six do now. They just farm all the youngsters, man. But yeah, there's so much talent there that we're not even aware of unless you watch Premier League 2, right, religiously. But there'll be loads of players out there. Tyler Morton, like, for example, turning up at Hull. Whenever I've seen him, I thought, wow, that lad's mustard.
Mate, even just an out number 9, even if they're letting him go for even if they're letting this lad go on a cheap deal, I'd even look at Liam Delap. Honestly,
exactly.
I would look at Liam Delap 100%.
Well, Hull City say had he not got injured, they'd have got the top 6. But they were missing a striker. So, yeah, there is people out there 100%, and hopefully you would think now this is again how we have to be prepared this summer. There are no excuses because we've now had Jordan Miles, Greta Steinson, and Nick Hammond in their roles. The two latter for a year. Jordan Miles coming up to 6 months now. You know, they should, and let's be honest, Jordan Miles should already have a working knowledge of the market, and so Steinson and all that. And what I will say from the deals we did get done in the summer were very good deals, bro. You know, getting Ampadu for 7 million, getting Rodon on loan, even the Spence one at the time we thought was a great deal.
Yeah.
You know, they did get some very good deals over the line, so let's hope we see more of the same. And I'll say it again, there are no excuses. Leeds United definitely should be in contention for the league, and anything less than that is not good enough.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. And we'll obviously get into the thick of this when it comes to transfers. Obviously, me and Joe are going to be linking up everyone. The Counterpoint is on Joe's channel and it's on my channel week by week, right? So make sure you check out Joe's channel, of course. We've got over 2,100 of you in the building.
Wow.
Slap a like on this. Is record numbers for the Counterpoint. I think we had record numbers on Joe's channel last time out. I think we had about 1,300 in there. So this is a weekly thing, and we'll be discussing transfers. Me and Joe will be getting onto the transfers very soon, anyway. But listen, we're going to be getting it together, evaluating some players and all that sort of stuff. So, mate, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And guys, we'll see you in a bit. Cheers.
Bye all.